Hello. I haven't been feeling very inspired for the channel for a while now, but today is different. And what's that prompted by? Healing! Yay! I would tell you that I have been busting my ass at healing. There's a lot I have been working on. But today something really big came in. And I think I should probably direct it at twin flames because that's what so much of my healing has been prompted by. But it doesn't have to be limited to that because it has to do with divine timing, that thing that we get so frustrated with. I've often said the P word, patience, with a sneer on my face because I have hated to be patient. And yet, I have learned finally, although I feel like I've been laid on the ground and bludgeoned without any way of defending myself. You can see I didn't go easily into it. But I wanted to share what happened today because it explains why we have these weights because of divine timing, divine intervention. They're not for no reason. And I think the twin flames especially know how hard it is to be in separation and to have to be patient. And we don't fucking understand why it has to be. So my realization, and this is on top of, having given up on thinking that anything could ever change. The first one was a couple days ago when I pulled a card from Rumi Oracle, Alana Fairchild. And it was about realizing that we are all divine. And that is something that has been beyond me as a concept. It's like, okay, intellectually, I get that God or the divine is in all of us. We are all part of this. But there was some part of me that was like, no, I'm just some earth person. I'm just a peon. How could that be? And something about the card just really spoke to me about how when we don't think that we are also divine, as in part of all that is, which I think makes it easier to conceptualize, because when we think of God like this dude on the throne with this long white beard, or when we think of the divine as only the angels and the spirit guides that we see as so much above us, we just can't see ourselves fitting in. I'm not that good. I couldn't possibly be the same as those people or that guy. When we think of it as all that is, though, it's a little easier to see, yeah, I'm part of that all that is. And when we realize that we go through certain experiences to contribute what happened to us and what we learned, and that it kind of goes into this pot so that not everyone that's part of all that is has to experience it, that also helps. I don't know, I'm probably not explaining it very well, but suddenly I could just feel that, hell yeah, I'm part of all that is. It's just the labels that have keeping me from thinking that I could be part of this. And also that part of my ego that always tells me I'm not good enough, I couldn't possibly be there. So I've already been thinking, maybe this is true. Maybe I am also divine because I am part of all that is. And the card was talking about how we see obstacles, that we're looking to the divine or God to clear for us, and we're not embracing our own power. So I was thinking, yeah, I see that person as an obstacle. Oh, wait, I'm seeing that person as an obstacle. So damn, that person is an obstacle if that's where I am putting the person. So it was like, no, I'm divine. You're not an obstacle. Out of the way, person. Or I'm seeing this as an obstacle. No, wait. It's only an obstacle if I think it is, and I am divine. So, out of the way, obstacle. I know my brain is kind of simple in the way it looks at things when I finally get them, but hey, I'll share. You can let your fancier brain make it more complicated if you want, but really that's what I boiled it down to for myself. So, what came in today is what made me understand why the divine, of which I am a part, has put the kibosh on union with my twin flame, twin soul, however you want to describe it. Really, I'm kind of over the labels because we elevate things to something different when we put a label on it. So I should just say the long separation with the soul that I remember from so many lives and that I love. Screw the label. My person, let's just put it that way. But the long, long, long separation has really taken a toll on me. And I kept thinking, but I'm doing all this healing. What am I missing? What am I doing wrong? Because at this point, I'm very well aware that we are mirrors. I could say, oh, it's all his fault. He must not be doing this. He must not be doing that. But that's not how it works. If things aren't happening, it's because there's something I have to do still too. So frustration and quitting a million times aside. And I say that because I'm like, oh, fuck this. I'm not doing this anymore. And then I forget that I said that and I'm right back into it. There's my brain for you. I had something come in this morning that made me realize that there was such a big, big thing that I had missed. I couldn't heal it because I didn't even know it was there until today. Now, this part is triggering. I'm just going to tell you right now. Trigger warning, trigger warning, trigger warning. How do I even start? I guess I have to go backwards a little. So if you haven't watched my other videos, I realized a few years ago that I blocked the first 6 years or so. And since then, I have had little memories come in that tell me why I had blocked it. It had to do with sexual abuse, and it had to do with abuse of all sorts by my mother that I had dissociated from and just didn't see it as existing. And as these memories have come in, I have had to forgive again and again and again, which isn't easy, you know that. But I finally have gotten to the place I realized, no, it's not hurting her, she's dead. It's hurting me to keep holding on to these things. So I have forgiven to get myself off the hook of continuing to see it as something that I need to spend my brain power on. It's limited people I need to kind of pare down what I want to invest my brain power on. So a couple of the memories that I have had are what the trigger is, and I'm going to not go into detail here. But I had 2 pets that I loved dearly when I was a child who lost their lives because I loved them so much. It was a warning to me to keep my mouth shut. And I never made the association of how I saw love. Because as a child who was going through really challenging times, these pets were my unconditional love. I'm going to get myself together here. I thought I could do this without tearing up, and they didn't die in pretty ways. I had to watch. So I knew already from digging into some other things that I associated love with pain, because a child loves a parent, and there was a lot of pain, so I just had lumped it all together. Oh, love equals pain. And then, of course, I set myself up for scenario after scenario that would reinforce that, because, the universe wants us to always be right. And then I kind of tippy-toed on the edge of realizing that I thought betrayal also was part of love. Because, for a parent to do the kinds of things that my parent did, that was definitely betrayal. And then, of course, I have set myself up for more scenarios where I would be betrayed, including how I was seeing it, my twin flame. Even though I have no idea of what really happened, I guess maybe I could say I felt betrayed by being suddenly blocked with no warning. But I was starting to make that association. Yeah, love must include betrayal also. But then when the thoughts of these two pets came up, and me making the association of them being my safe place, the ones I could always count on being loving to me, being taken from me, I realized that I also saw that if I loved something that much, it was going to suffer and be taken from me. So I've held myself back from really loving. I saw myself as the instrument of destruction and suffering, and ultimately loss of, if not life, something important. You would hope I could love without destroying someone, in fact, but none of this makes sense except that this is how it had worked itself out in my brain. And I realize now I just never would fully let myself love after the second pet. I had learned that lesson, that there was no place of safety. And not only should I not love someone fully because I might lose them, but I might cause them suffering. I saw myself as the instrument of pain for someone else if I loved them as much as I could love. Well, then lots of years, of course, went by after the animals. Sorry about this. Jeez, I thought I could be a big girl. Remember, crying isn't a sign of weakness. It is just a pressure release. Don't judge me. Don't judge yourself. The next time I allowed myself to really love fully was with my first pregnancy. Know what happened? The pregnancy went away. See, I fully invested my love, and what happened? Taken. Then a lot of years again. And I put all my love into another pet, my little dachshund. And he died way before his time. And I felt lost without him. I know I'm being a big baby. No, wait, not being a big baby. I'm being a big releaser here. Anyway, why I'm sharing this is because these things in our childhood that happened to us that we have dissociated from or just shoved in the closet and pretend didn't exist there, color our lives. And until we dig them out and really look at them, not just go, oh, how interesting, back in the closet with you, we don't realize that this is part of how we limit ourselves. And yes, it hurts. It hurts to go back and have those memories. It hurts me like hell to think that because of me, there were animals that lost their lives. But those animals have souls too. They got to choose if they were willing to do that to save me, and I'm grateful to them. the daughter that I lost has been with me in spirit once I opened up to being able to connect with her. And my little dachshund taught me so much about strength and resilience because he was blind. He went blind probably because he was pedigreed, only pedigreed animal I've ever had. And it wasn't a good thing to be pedigreed. And I had this need every 6 months, maybe a year, but probably more like 6 months, to move the furniture around. And there's my poor little mini dachshund, blind. He always would figure out by bumping into things, unfortunately, that the furniture had been moved, and within a very short time he had it figured out. So resilient. And then he got epilepsy. Oh my God, it ripped my heart out to see him go through those things and think he didn't understand. But I mean, he should have had a long, long life, and he was dead at 7, and I loved him with all my heart. Again, loss. So I not only had this warped idea of what love is, meaning pain and betrayal, but I had this warped idea of what my loving fully could cause. That's a hell of a big ego to think I can cause destruction by loving, but see, none of this stuff is logical. We form it so early before we can really logically figure things out. And then we get to be big people. We're all about logic, and it's like, no, does not compute. I'll just let that go by the wayside, because if it doesn't compute with my logic, it's not real. And all this twin flame stuff is about getting out of our heads and getting into our hearts. So all that logic shit is supposed to be getting less and less and less. Yeah, if we have that tendency to be logical, it's never going to go away. But when it comes to things like this connection that we cannot run away from no matter how hard we try, we are just fucking with ourselves to stay in our heads. It's gotta be heart. And no, that didn't hurt. And I don't know why I had to be so forceful. I guess to remind myself to get out of here, go down here, and stay here. I've cleared so much out. I got room for love to come in. But my logic can shut the door on the flow. I think I'm just all over the place. But I mean, I had to share that realization because you may be holding on to shit like that from your childhood too. And the thing is, if you think that being a twin flame is just, peace and happiness and harmony and, la la la, it isn't. If you really are a twin flame and you're not doing this work, you're not ever going to get to the place you need to be to come into union with your twin. It's about combining those souls and working up this energy of love that's going to spread. You're not doing your part if you're not healing this stuff. And I'm using this as an example. I've been busting my ass trying to heal this stuff, and yet I couldn't face this particular thing until I was ready. And apparently wasn't ready for over 4 years. There's a reason for the timing. There's a reason for the wait. There's a reason for the separation. There's a reason we don't come together until we are ready. Because how could I fully open to my twin if I am so sure that it's going to involve pain and betrayal, and that I'm going to ultimately hurt him by loving him as much as I want to? That had to go. That had to come out. That had to be examined and seen that, yeah, this was a childhood experience. And yeah, it wasn't pretty, but I wasn't meant to hang on to it for this fucking long. But I held on to it as long as I needed to be able to bring it out. And maybe shed a few tears, yeah, but to see that it's not something that really is going to happen. That was a child's conclusion. And then, although I was an adult as the other things happened, that child was still part of me. And that child was like, see, I told you. So there's my aha moment for today. Not easy at all. But whew, do I feel good to have gotten it finally out into the light so I could see, no, this I can heal. Little child of mine that's inside me, it's okay. Because the lesson was, it may have happened then, but it's not going to happen every time in the future. We have to open ourselves up to seeing that we do have the power to heal these things just by pulling them out into the light and looking at them and feeling them and then releasing them, whether with tears, with screaming. Hey, I got an Oculus that I'm making payments on, the virtual headset. And I've learned that the boxing is really good to get some of this shit out. Just saying. You can get it with payments on Amazon if you find it at the right time. We just have to quit running from this stuff. And it's not easy. But don't tell yourself the divine doesn't know what it's doing because it's making you wait. The divine of which you are part of. You're not going to come together with your person in true union until you look at all the scary things and realize you didn't have to be scared of them all these years after all. If you go into your heart, this is where you're supposed to be staying. Not just for your twin flame situation, but for everything. Because if you stay here, get out of here. You see, the obstacles don't have to be there. You're divine. Move them out of the way. Hope this had some value for you. At least I posted something original. Take care. Bye.